Chapter 2, Section 3 on climate and weather. Let's prepare to read first our objectives. In this section, you'll learn about weather and climate. Then you'll explore latitude, landforms, and precipitation. And you will discover how oceans affect climate. That's an important one. That is a 6th grade standard for us in Indiana. Okay, we've got several key terms, words that you've heard in social studies, words that you should know before: weather, precipitation, temperature, climate, and then a tropical cyclone. Okay, when we read, I like to read this introduction paragraph first, and then we'll jump right in. So this Inuit woman and child are dressed for their cold climate. Is it weather or climate? Every morning, most people check the weather before they get dressed, but in some parts of India, people have very serious reasons for watching the weather or the condition of the air and sky from day to day. In parts of India, it rains only one time a year. In parts of India, it rains only during one time of year. No one living there wants the rainy days to end too soon. That rain must fill the wells with enough fresh water to last for the entire year. In India, people are concerned about precipitation, or water that falls to the ground, as rain, sleet, hail, or snow, the 4 forms of precipitation. When you get dressed in the morning, you may want to know the temperature, or how hot or cold the air is. Weather is mainly measured by temperature and precipitation. The climate of a place is the average weather over many years. Climate is not the same as weather. Weather is what people see from day to day. Climate is what usually happens from year to year. Okay, so weather, just a snapshot, day to day. Climate is how it trends over time. Okay, so we're going to first read about why climates vary, and we'll look at the wet water cycle. Then we'll look at this offshoot page on air circulation and the wind and how that relates. Then we'll look at how oceans and climates is our main heading. Our subheadings then are oceans and their currents. And then the next subheading is the ocean's cooling and warming effects. Then we'll look at the world climate regions here. We'll skip the DK, eyewitness technology, for now with weather forecasting. And then we'll read about raging storms and tropical cyclones. And here we have 2005 Hurricane Katrina caused massive destruction along the southeastern coast of the U.S. We just had Hurricane Ida go through at the time of this recording. Okay, why climates vary. Earth has many climates. Some climates are so hot that people rarely need to wear a sweater. In some cold climates, snow stays on the ground most of the year. And there are places on Earth where more than 30 feet of rain falls in a single year. Climate depends on location. Places in the low latitudes or tropics have hot climates because they get direct sunlight. Places in the high latitudes or polar regions have cold climates because their sunlight is indirect. And you guys know this. We went over this with section 2 or section 1 of this reading. And we've been doing bell work that goes right along with that, with the low latitudes. Air and water spread heat around the globe as they move. Without wind and water, places in the tropics would overheat. Oceans gain and lose heat slowly, so they keep temperatures mild near the coasts. Mountains can affect climates as well. Okay, so the coasts are pretty mild. Why? Because of the oceans. Here we have a picture of Cherrapunji, India, with 37 feet of rain a year. That's a lot of rain. The rain that flows into lakes, streams, and waterfalls. Okay, here's our water cycle, and you've seen the water cycle several times through the years. Water evaporates from bodies of water where rain has fallen, so we've got evaporation, and then we have condensation, and then we have precipitation, and then it flows back, and we follow the cycle. Okay, next, the air circulation and wind. Winds and air currents move heat and moisture between different parts of Earth. These currents follow regular patterns related to latitude. The diagram below shows these circular patterns of air movement, which form a series of belts or cells that circle the Earth. Okay, so if we look here where the United States is, here's Africa over here, you can see these currents are flowing towards the equator. But then if you get down here, they flow towards the Arctic Circle and the Antarctic Circle. Over here you can have warm, moist air rising, and then it condenses and falls, and they just follow these cycles and these belts. At the poles, the sun's rays reach Earth at a steep angle, and the air is cold. At the equator, it's warm, causing these currents, causing these cycles to occur. All right, next, we'll read this paragraph, or these two paragraphs. The ocean's cooling and warming effects. Bodies of water affect climate in other ways too. Water takes longer to heat or cool than land. As the air and land heat up in the summer, the water remains cooler. Think about it. If you've ever been to the lakes, the air temperature, when it gets cold at night, the water doesn't go with that. Or when it gets too hot during the day, the water takes a lot longer to warm or cool. Wind blowing over the water cools the nearby land. So in a summer, a region near an ocean or lake will be cooler than an inland area at the same latitude. In the winter, the water remains warmer than the land. So places near lakes or oceans are warmer in winter than inland areas, keeping coasts mild in temperature. They say in San Diego, California, on the coast, it's almost always 70 degrees. Doesn't matter how warm it is here in Indiana or how cold it is in Indiana. Near San Diego, almost always 70 because of the ocean. Consider San Francisco, California, and St. Louis, Missouri. Similar example to what I just said. Both cities are near 38 degrees north latitude. However, San Francisco borders the Pacific Ocean. In winter, the ocean is warmer than the air. The ocean keeps San Francisco much warmer than St. Louis in winter. In the summer, the ocean is cooler than the air, so it keeps San Francisco cool. Okay, let's look at this picture down here. The world climate regions. You can see patterns in a map of Earth's climate regions. Notice that the tropical wet climate regions hug the equator on several continents. Farther from the equator are arid and semi-arid climate regions, and we know arid means dry, semi meaning half dry. Elsewhere, regions where the wind blows off the oceans have wetter climates than regions farther inland. Each climate region on this map is described more fully in our next section of reading. So here's just a snapshot of it. So here's a picture of Arid Land, the Grand Canyon. And then over here we have a tropical wet region, like in Tai Long Wan coast in Hong Kong, over here in Hong Kong. Okay, so here's our key, able to see the different areas. Here's a very arid area through the Sahara Desert, through inland Australia, like our Bell work recently, you saw that. Okay, the U.S. has a lot of different climate regions, very diverse. Okay, last paragraph, raging storms, paragraphs section. Wind and water can make climates milder, but they can also create large and dangerous storms. Tropical cyclones are intense wind and rain storms that form over oceans in the tropics. Tropical cyclones that form over the Atlantic Ocean are called hurricanes. The winds near the center of a hurricane can reach speeds of more than 100 miles per hour. Hurricanes produce huge swells of water called storm surges, which flood over shorelines and can destroy buildings. Tornadoes are like funnels of wind that can reach 200 miles per hour. The winds and the low air pressure they create in their centers can wreck almost anything in their path. They can be just as dangerous as hurricanes, but they affect much smaller areas. Other storms are less dangerous. In winter, blizzards dump huge amounts of snow on parts of North America, and severe rainstorms and thunderstorms strike the continent most often in spring and summer. Okay, there's your reading on Chapter 2, Section 3.